Hello everyone, my name is Shania Malika Epiphanias Simorangkir with my ID number 2007050X7. In this occasion, I want to give a presentation about Sociolinguistic for Introduction to Linguistics 2 Mid-Semester Examination. What is Sociolinguistic? Sociolinguistic is the study of speech function according to the speaker, the hearer, the relationship and context, the context and the situation, the topic of discourse, the purpose of discourse, and the form of discourse. In sociolinguistics, there are 6 things that can be the scope of sociolinguistics. The first is relation between language and society, relation between uses of language and social structures. The second is synchronic and diachronic variation. The third is dialectal variation. The fourth is social variation. The fifth is age-related variation, and the last is gender-based variation. First, I will explain about the relation between language and society. In the relation between language and society, there is an interrelationship between language and society. Language is used to establish and maintain social relationship. How is your family? Users of the same language speak differently. Language reveals information about its speaker. Language reveals physical and social environments of a society. For the second, I will explain about synchronic and diachronic variation. It refers to variation in space and time. The first is synchronic. What is the definition of synchronic? Synchronic analyzes structure of language. Study of any given point in time, doesn't focus on history and evolution of language, and study about grammar, classification, and arrangement of a sentence. The second is diachronic. Diachronic is study language in different periods in history. Diachronic focus on the history and evolution of language. Diachronic study about comparative linguistics, etymology, and language evolution. Now, I will talk about dialectal variation. There are 6 kinds of dialectal variation. The first is regional dialect, the second is sociolect, the third is language and gender, the fourth is language and age, the fifth is Idiolic, and the last is ethnic dialect. Now, we will continue with the first variation dialect. The first is regional dialect. Regional dialect is a linguistic variety used by people living in the same geographical region. The second is social dialect or sociolect. Social dialect has to do with separation brought about by different social conditions. Social class dialect refers to the linguistic variety characteristic of a particular social class. The third is language and gender. Women are usually more status conscious than men in the speaking English world. Women's speech more closely approaches the standard variety than the speech of men. For example, the investigation in Norwich, England shows that women have a lower frequency of using for another men do. The next is language and age. Language used by the generation differs from that used by the younger generation. Lexical variation is more noticeable across 3 generation time span than 2 generation time span. The next is Idiolic. Idiolic is a personal dialect of an individual speaker that combines elements regarding regional, society, gender, and age variation. The language he or she uses bears distinctive features of his or her own and is his and her Idiolic. In a rarer sense, what makes up a person's Idiolic also includes such facts as voice quality, pitch, and speech tempo and rhythm. The last is ethnic dialect. An ethnic dialect is a social dialect of a language that cuts across the regional differences. It is mainly spoken by a less privileged population that has experienced some form of social isolation, such as racial discrimination or segregation. An ethnic dialect of English is Black English, the kind of English spoken mostly by a large section of non-middle-class American blacks. Black English is another non-standard variety of English, which differs from Standard English. Black English has its own feature, set the phonological, morphological, syntactic, and lexical level. The next scope of sociolinguistics is language parities. Language varies from region to region, class to class, profession to profession, person to person, and even situation to situation. Sociolinguistics tends to describe this variation in language with reference to their relationship with society. It shows that the relationship between language variation and society is rather a systematic relationship. The next scope is register. David Crystal defines register as a variety of language defined according to its use in social situations. Human beings are not static. Their thinking, choice, and behavior vary according to need and situation. As they adapt their behavior according to the situation, the last scope of sociolinguistics is pidgin. Pidgin is an admixture of two languages which cannot be said a divergent variety of a language, but of two or more languages. Here, languages mix up oddly that from morphemes to sentence structure, everything reduces and mingles strangely. David Crystal defines pidgin as a language with a markedly reduced grammatical structure, lexicon, and stylistic range, compared with other languages, in which its native language of known and are formed by two mutually unintelligible speech communities attempting to communicate. Pidgin is catcom of interaction between two entire different communities. It develops because neither of the communities' language of other due to different reasons. Sometimes, practically, it is impossible to learn either of the language so quickly, and there is strong need of interaction as for business purpose and immediate political needs. Most of the present pidgins have developed in European colonies. A few examples are Hawaii, AAVE, Papiamentu, Bistama, and many have developed as Creoles. I think this is the end of my presentation. I hope it can be useful for all of us. And if I have many mistakes, please forgive me. For your attention, thank you for watching.